Jack Frost painted the pumpkins last night in parts of the viewing area here at WVTT. Some frost reported in the northern sections of the viewing area. Down south in Pennsylvania, though, it only got down to around 37 last night.
And then today was absolutely gorgeous. We had blue skies here at WVTT. It was nice and warm and just as perfect as can be, Jeff.
Absolutely. Overnight tonight, low temperature 41 degrees, mostly clear skies, so it's actually going to be a little bit warmer than it was last night. We'll have full weather details coming up here on WVTT. WVTT's World and National News Roundup. We first take a look at the Jerry Sandusky sentencing. Here's the latest from CNN.
Jerry Sandusky arrived at his sentencing in a prison uniform, a uniform he'll likely wear for the rest of his life. Inside, he listened intently as three of his victims read emotional statements. Victim 5, who was assaulted once in a locker room shower in 2001, cried as he told the court, "The sentence will never erase what he did to me. It will never make me whole. He must pay for his crimes, take into account the tears, pain, and private anguish." Victim 4, who endured years of sexual abuse, looked directly at Sandusky and told the former football coach, "I want you to know I do not forgive you, and I don't think I will ever forgive you." For about 13 minutes, Sandusky read from a statement that he finished writing late last night, saying, "I'm filled with emotion and determination. I did not do these disgusting acts. Others can make me out to be a monster, but they cannot take away my heart." Sandusky made comments to a Pennsylvania radio station on the eve of his sentencing, calling his case
a well-orchestrated effort of the media, investigators, the system, Penn State, psychologists, civil attorneys, and other accusers. They won.
Judge John Cleland admonished Sandusky, calling his radio interview unbelievable. He sentenced him to 30 to 60 years in prison, telling Sandusky, "This crime is not only what you did to their bodies, but to their psyche and souls." Outside court, prosecutor Joe McGettigan said Sandusky's statement was a joke.
It was banal in the extreme. It was self-centered. It was devoid of any connection with the reality of the harm he had caused.
Sandusky's defense attorney, Joe Amendola, set the grounds for an appeal, saying an acquittal was possible had he had more time to prepare his case.
What was the harm in giving him another 6 months to prove that, to do more research, to do more investigative work, which is what we were in the process of doing?
The victim attorney, Justine Andronisi, doesn't believe there are any grounds for an appeal. Though she was satisfied with today's sentence, she feels it still may not be enough.
I honestly don't believe that there is enough time in the universe to create justice in this case.
Congress is warning American companies not to use two Chinese telecommunication vendors, calling them a potential threat to national security. CNN's Jill Doherty reports the committee wasn't satisfied with the amount of information the companies provided about their operations in the U.S. or their alleged ties to the Chinese military.
The two Chinese telecommunications companies could be a threat to the national security of the United States. That's the conclusion by the House Intelligence Committee after a year-long probe of Huawei and ZTE.
We do not have the confidence that these two companies, with their ties to the Chinese government, can be entrusted with infrastructure of such critical importance.
The committee has no proof of any wrongdoing, but its chairman claims the companies could be a kind of Trojan horse, allowing the Chinese government to gather intelligence or strike the U.S. with a cyber war. The committee is urging American companies as well as U.S. government systems and contractors to find other vendors. But Huawei tells CNN the committee is just trying to poke China in the eye on cyber attacks by holding its company hostage.
Huawei is Huawei. Huawei is not China. Whatever concerns that the committee or the U.S. government has with the state, the government of another state, or vice versa, has nothing to do with my company. And my company should not be held hostage to someone's political agenda.
Huawei is one of the biggest information communications technology providers in the world, a $30 billion firm with 120,000 employees worldwide, operating in 140 countries. With 1,700 employees in the U.S., it provides telecommunications infrastructure as well as phones and tablets. Its founder was an engineer in the Chinese army nearly 3 decades ago, but the company denies any ties with Chinese intelligence. The congressional committee, Huawei says, made up its mind even before the hearings began. A statement on the company's website says the committee's report not only ignored our proven track record of network security in the United States and globally, but also paid no attention to the large amount of facts that we have provided. The congressionally created U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission found that Huawei receives funding from the Chinese military for research and development of cyber, communications, and intelligence gathering systems. But Huawei calls that charge patently false. The other Chinese company named by the committee also denies it is directed or controlled by the Chinese government. And Huawei says it has to suspect that the only purpose of the committee's report is to impede competition or obstruct the entry of Chinese companies into the U.S. market. Jill Doherty, CNN, the State Department.
If you're the parent or grandparent of high school student athletes, you'll want to listen up. School athletics isn't always fun and games. In some situations, kids can get hurt. But over the past few years, school districts have begun looking for better ways to keep kids safe. Here's Susan Hendricks with today's Health Minute.
It's the first game for the freshman football squad at Fairfax High School in Virginia. And already a player from the opposing team has broken his arm. It's a pretty serious injury, but he's in good hands. That's because the county has 2 certified athletic trainers at each high school in case an injury occurs.
They're there to provide comprehensive athletic health care for the entire athletic population.
As statistics point to a rise in avoidable deaths among high school athletes because of heat exhaustion, concussion, even cardiac arrest, more schools are looking at adding athletic trainers to their rosters. The trainers are taught to look for possible problems in young players before the serious symptoms show up. And schools like Fairfax provide special training for their ATs and coaches so they are ready for anything.
So there's an emergency action plan that coaches have for every facility that they're at, where they practice and as well as where they compete.
Athletic trainers are also the medical experts away from home.
We do our best to contact the parent immediately upon any acute injury to make sure that they know what's coming home.
The Fairfax County model costs several $1 million a year, but many school districts across the country are looking at it as a way to protect their young athletes. For today's Health Minute, I'm Susan Hendricks.
Coming up on the 6 o'clock report, some good news for collegiate student athletes from our local area. WVTT's Derek Smith reports on the St. Bonaventure golf team coming up on News Channel 25 WVTT.